You know that saying, you are what you eat? Well, if that's true, then what exactly is Chicago? It's a city known for being big and brawny, for sure. But its real story, the one that tells you who it really is written on the plate. It's a delicious, kind of complicated history built by people from, well, pretty much everywhere. So, let's pull up a chair and dig into the story of Chicago, one amazing dish at a time.
Okay, right off the bat, we've got to get one thing straight. We all hear the term melting pot for a city like this, but you know what? It doesn't really fit. Someone once put it perfectly. Chicago isn't a melting pot, it's a cultural stew. And that's a huge difference. It's a place where all these distinct flavors simmer together, creating something totally new, but each ingredient still tastes like itself.
So, what are the main ingredients in this big, delicious stew? Well, that's what we're going to get into. We're going to look at how different immigrant groups had to adapt their old world recipes, how the Great Migration brought the heart and soul of the South right into the city, and how sometimes just out of pure necessity, some of Chicago's most iconic foods were just invented. Just think about a real stew for a second. The carrot, still a carrot, right? And the potato is still a potato. But they've both soaked up the flavor of the broth, and they've given their own flavor to the broth. That's Chicago. Every culture that came here added its own essential flavor to the mix, and the result is a menu you literally couldn't find anywhere else on the planet. So our first key ingredient is just adaptation. I mean, when people arrived here, they couldn't always find the exact same stuff they had back home. Of course not. So what do? You improvise. You make do. And in that improvisation, they ended up creating brand new traditions. Let's talk about the corned beef sandwich. You probably think of it as like the most Irish thing ever, right? Well, not really. See, back in Ireland, the everyday meal for most folks was boiling bacon. Corned beef actually became popular here in America thanks to Jewish butchers from Eastern Europe. And since Irish immigrants often lived right next door, they adopted it as their new go-to. It's the perfect example of these different cultures simmering together, and creating something incredible. Okay, next up is a flavor that just fundamentally shaped Chicago's identity, soul food. And this isn't just about a type of cooking. It's the story of a people, a culinary history that was carried all the way up from the American South. The scale of this is just wow. We're talking about over 500,000 African Americans moving to Chicago during the Great Migration, all looking for work, for a better life. And they didn't just bring their suitcases, they brought these recipes, these traditions that would become a true cornerstone of the city's food scene. At its absolute heart, soul food is about ingenuity. It was born from the incredibly harsh realities of slavery, which meant taking whatever was available, the leftover cuts of meat, the greens you could find, and turning it into something amazing. You had techniques like smothering, which could make any tough piece of meat fall apart tender. And barbecue. They adapted Southern slow cooking for the city with these brilliant glass-enclosed smokers called aquarium smokers. And the name itself, what was once just called country cooking, was proudly reclaimed as soul food in the 60s, which just speaks to its cultural power. But Chicago's food story isn't just about adapting old recipes. It's also about pure lightning-in-a-bottle invention. Some of the city's most famous dishes weren't brought from anywhere. They were dreamed up right here, in the kitchens and on the streets of Chicago.
You've got to love flaming saganaki. This dish, with the fire and the big shout of Opa, it feels ancient, right? Like it came straight from a Greek village? Nope. It was invented in 1968 in Chicago's Greektown. The legend is, a customer just suggested, hey, why not add some brandy and light it on fire? That is some pure Chicago showmanship right there.
And then, of course, there's the heavyweight champion, deep dish pizza. This wasn't just another version of Italian pizza. It was a total reinvention. Created back in 1943, it was built from the ground up to be a serious knife and fork meal for a city full of hard workers. It literally flips the whole idea of a pizza on its head, with the sauce on top. And just to prove that this story is still being written, let's talk about the Gibberito. This was invented as recently as 1996 in Humboldt Park. And the idea is just brilliant. A steak sandwich, but instead of bread, you use two big, flattened, fried green plantains. It's so simple, so delicious, and it's already become a modern Chicago classic. So how do we bring all of these pieces together? This adaptation, this migration, this invention. Well, believe it or not, you can find the entire story of Chicago's cultural stew wrapped up neatly in a single poppy seed bun. Okay, let's just break this down because every single topping tells a part of the story. You've got the all-beef frank, which comes to us from German and Jewish immigrants, The poppy seed bun, that's a classic Eastern European touch. The yellow mustard is German. Then you get the fresh veggies, the tomatoes, the pickle. That reflects the influence of Italian and Greek immigrants who loved their gardens. And even the little hot sport peppers, that's a nod to Italian tastes. It's literally the whole city on a bun.
So what you have in the end is one single sandwich, telling the stories of, I don't know, almost a dozen different cultures, all coming together to make something that is just uniquely Chicago. And yeah, for the record, absolutely no ketchup. That's a real rule.
Every single ingredient tells a story about who came here and why they came. Chicago's menu really is its autobiography, just written in mustard and relish and spices. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Take a look at the most popular dishes where you live. What story are they trying to tell you?